Hello there, my name is Andrew Romero, and this is the Out of Office Chat where I talk about life outside the office. And today, I want to chat about catching up with cinema, graduating off-world, the weird, the normal, the blah, 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 and, hey, what's up, Google? But first, I want to talk about, some things that have been going on with films. I want to go check out Dune Part Two. I really hear it's a phenomenal movie, and it came out last week. I think it did really well. I'm trying to stay away from reviews, anything that might spoil it. I watched part one off a whim, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was phenomenal. I mean, how they built the cultures, they built the worlds, the costumes. It was a really great movie. Even, like from a CGI standpoint, it wasn't overly done. It looked pretty natural. It was really good all around. So I want to watch Dune Part Two, but I want to make an evening of it. When I go to the movies, I kind of want to enjoy myself. But it's a little harder to do when you're juggling a couple of jobs, being a family man and all that there. So I think I'll do it. Maybe not this week. Maybe next week when the crowds die down. Although I will say, when you do have, when you do watch a recently released movie with a crowd, you kind of feel that energy. In any case, I hope to do that relatively soon. The second part of this segment is around the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now, I watched that movie about 2 years ago, and I've only watched it once, and I fell in love with it. I'm watching it for the second time. I don't watch it often because I don't want to dilute how much I enjoy it. Rather, I watch it movies that I really do enjoy. I watch it sparingly. Now, I will say this. When I first went to go watch it, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I never watched the trailer. I saw the poster. I never read a snippet of the movie. But as soon as I heard the title, Everything Everywhere All at Once, I thought to myself, this is a movie for me. And it really was. I went there with my family, with a friend and my brother. I really enjoyed it. So my goal is hopefully I watch it this week, into next week. I can do a couple things. I can analyze it a little bit better, and then I can actually do a whole episode. So I don't know if y'all recall, but in one of my last episodes, I basically analyzed Journeys Out of the Body by Robert Monroe. I want to do something very similar with Everything Everywhere All at Once, just because I really enjoyed it. And I'll tell you why I enjoyed it in that respective episode, what it impacted on me, how it hit me in the feels. But that's to come. I have to go ahead and watch it before I record anything. So that's the first segment. The second segment, graduating off world. Now, this one is dedicated to a book that I picked up a couple of weeks ago called Binit. Now, Binit is written by, I don't recall where she's from. She's from Africa for sure, but her name is Nnedi Okorafor. I hope I pronounced that right. But when I picked this book up, it was off a whim. It was sitting on a shelf. It was kind of highlighted. It said it won the Hugo and Nebula Award. So I Googled it really quickly. It was a sci-fi award. And I thought, you know what? It's not too long. Let me get it. At most, it's 90 pages, I believe. Yeah, about 90 pages. I began reading it, and right away I was hooked. So a brief premise of what this book is about. If you want to avoid any spoilers, log off now, whatever. But I will be going through some of the main, pinnacles of the book. All right. So Binit is an African scientist, not even a scientist, a mathematician. She's a mathematical genius. She belongs to a tribe or a people called the Himba people. When I Googled this, the Himba people are an actual people. They're an actual culture and society within Africa. I believe they're in Angola, so I'm pretty sure this author is Angolan. Now, the Himba people, what separates them from other cultures is that they live in just heat. So to prevent any kind of harm from the heat, they cover themselves in red clay that shield them not only from the sun, but also mask any kind of body odors and the like. Now, Binti is what you call a master harmonizer in the book. That is to say that she can use mathematics, or she sees mathematics in a completely different way, to the point where it's almost spiritual for them. Now, she's, like I mentioned, very smart. She's able to build certain devices. One of the devices is called Astrolab or Lab. And this Astrolabe, it is able to go ahead and tell whoever's reading it the entire history of the owner's family, including their blood work, their health, their possible futures, so on and so forth. So because she's a mathematical genius, she got accepted into one of the most prestigious universities in the entire galaxy, called Umza University. Now, she got a full ride, and upon telling her family was immediate to shut it down. No, you can't do that, because one, our people do not leave our tribe or our village. And two, you are a master harmonizer, the best out there. And three, you are meant to take over the family business. So her father owns an Astrolabe shop. He was hoping that Binti would inherit. Now, Binti is bound by nobody, so she went ahead and she purchased a ticket off-world through a shuttle. And the book basically opens up with her waiting for her transponder, her device that carries her luggage, to basically kick off and pull her luggage the half a mile down the road to the shuttle. And she's able to get there, and throughout the entire journey, she's basically eyed up and down because she's a Himba individual. She's covered in the clay, not even paint, but just the clay in her hair, on her face. On top of that, she's wearing metal shackles at the bottom of her ankles, or I should say metal anklets, to protect her from any kind of any snake bites. Now, she lives in the desert, so you can imagine in the desert there's a lot of things that are happening in the sand. So snakes are something that do occur to her, or do live around her. So all the folks that she basically sees along the way, they just point at her through the entire trip, up until they get into the shuttle. And the shuttle itself, the individual kind of guides her in, but eyes her up and down. And she wants to talk about this, saying like, do all your passengers get treated this kind of malevolently? And she didn't say it, but ultimately they let her through, and she's boom, going to the shuttle. She reaches the shuttle and is finding herself in a massive, it was really cool, like an organism spaceship. So the organism spaceship itself, it breathes, but it expels air internally. And from what I gather, that is meant for the individuals to continue breathing within this spaceship, this kind of organic spaceship. It's really nifty. So in there, she makes a whole bunch of friends. You know, at first it was a little contentious because she was the only person of the Himba people to be on that spaceship, to be going to the Umza University. But she becomes really good friends. Unfortunately, what ends up happening is they all die. Now, they all die because they are attacked by the Medus, which is an alien race that does not like human beings. They're basically like jellyfish creatures that stab right through the human bodies and basically kill everyone on board except for Binti. So most of the book is around Binti trying to survive, trying to kind of make sure that she keeps good relationships with these individuals. And, you know, she achieves it. She does a really good job at keeping her cool. I think there's a lot more to Binti and all her kind of trials and tribulations than this book offers. Apparently it's a series. Now, I really enjoyed it. I won't spoil it for you. I know I was going to spoil it, but at your own pace, at your own leisure, go ahead and read it. It's not a hard book to read. The genre that it's found in, it's called African futuristic science fiction horror novella. Now, that's a mouthful. And, you know, I would say it is a little bit horror based on some of the descriptions that the author provides here, especially when the Medus start killing the passengers on the ship. And it's still pretty PG, if I'm being honest. All that aside, it's pretty darn PG. It's, again, super easy to read, 90 pages. I really did enjoy it. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. Binti was a pretty darn good book. I really liked it. Now, the weird, the normal, the blah, 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 blah is because, this is around a book that I read called We Are All Weird by Seth Godin. I picked it up again because it was very short. It wasn't that bad. It didn't look that bad. About, again, 90 pages. There was a graph on the back that looked pretty neat. So I thought it was going to be a little bit statistical. I also thought, I thought maybe it was a marketing book because it was talking about the myths of the mass and how they're fed through by corporations. And I don't know what to make of it. I really don't. All right. So this is the best thing I can explain to you all what this book is about. The book is essentially says that as a society, a capitalistic society, we've all been, pushed by capitalism to be a part of a big mass and consume and consume in mass. So not only is it about capitalism and consumerism, but it's also our deviation away from the masses so that we are all a little bit more weirder. We're all a little bit more unique and we're all a little bit more independent thinking. But that's it. The book basically reiterates those points where, the weird, we're unique because we do this and we do that. And here is some examples of when corporations were pushing consumerism and what does it mean to be part of the mass? What does it mean to have power? What does it mean to be weird? Oh my God. It was just the same goddamn thing over and over again. It was really darn boring. I just could not stand it. And for example, I'm just going to flick through some of the chapter titles to give you all an idea of what it sounded like here. Wealth compounds, and that brings more weirdness. Here we go. It started with ice cream. The forces for normal. Mass and the reign of normal education. Origins of dominion. I think that was probably one of the last chapters. Yeah, I don't know. In any case, stuck on normal. I don't know. It was just trying to say the same thing over and over again. But the fact of the matter is I just could not understand what to do with that information. I got about a third of the way through, which is not a lot. It's about 30 pages. But I just couldn't, it got really boring. It was saying the same darn thing over and over again. The graph on the back of the book was very misleading. I thought it was going to be more statistical, but no, the dude really just puts graphs together and doesn't assign it any kind of like numerical value or a statistical value. I did not enjoy that. So I just didn't like it. I mean, it just kept saying the same thing over and over again. And one of the reasons why I got it was because I thought maybe it was from a marketing standpoint and a business standpoint, I thought maybe I could go ahead and maybe use some of the stuff that they were referencing in the book, right? Maybe use it, in my marketing, maybe use it as an independent consultant. And, no. This book is weird. I'm not gonna lie. This book is really weird, but, I did not enjoy it. I did not finish it. And I don't plan to finish it. I will go return it to the library. And that is that. Binti, though, if you do find yourself a chance to take out Binti at the library or buy it, go for it. It's a pretty good book. It's really short. I really enjoyed it. I read it in less than a week. Now, as far as what else I'm reading, I know those are those three segments, but I'm reading this other book about investments in Russia. Ooh, exciting! It actually is exciting. I got it from my uncle. He recommended it. It's about a lawyer, and we'll see. If I read it, I'll talk about it in a podcast. But from the high level, it's about an individual who begins to invest in the Russian markets as I'm not sure, like an investment firm or a banker or something like that. But he capitalizes on the recent fall of the Soviet Union. But it progresses to the point where he's finding himself in tricky situations where the various businesses and oligarchs, the folks that control the industries within a specific market, that he built up bad relationships with them. So his life is in danger. So much to the point where one of the people in his circle ends up getting killed. So the book is basically him trying to find out who the killers are, and it's pretty good. I've only read a couple of nights, and I'm already about 30 pages in. I like it. It reads like a thriller. It reads like a thriller, but it is a true story. So we'll see. I think going forward, what I do want to focus in on is Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I might do this book here. I don't have the title in front of me, but I'm enjoying it. Now, I didn't say this at the beginning, but one of the last things I do want to mention is I know I don't really bring up work, but I feel like it is really important to bring this part up because so I work in SEO, search engine optimization, which essentially means I help websites get found within Google organic search results, not the paid ads. Get that out here. But over the last month, not even over the last week, it was announced that Google is going to release an update. So if you're not familiar with how they operate, so all those results are basically the results of computations. That's how I like to view them as. So those top 10 results, or what used to be the top 10 free organic blue links, were all the results of computations and algorithms. And then, every time, what ends up happening is every now and then Google releases an algorithm update to kind of refresh things for a specific purpose. It might be that they're promoting new and fresher content. It might be that they're downplaying a specific aspect, a malicious aspect that websites or tactics that they take on their website. So they released a new update. I think it's called the Core Algo update this past weekend. And they do it pretty regularly, but this one was specific. The goal of this algorithm update was to tackle AI-driven content. Now, AI content, I talked about it a couple of episodes ago, way back when. I think maybe my first or second episode. AI content is it's pretty prevalent in the space because of the introduction of ChatGPT and what it can do to expedite, I guess, the volume of content. Now, I said it way back then, and I'll say it again. AI is cool, but it's not going to drive a business strategy. It's unless you're using it as some sort of tactic or a specific purpose, but not necessarily to feed your entire business model. I mean, you're setting yourself up for failure. So from what I've been hearing on my LinkedIn and Twitter, is wow, it's a big update. It's decimating a lot of websites out there that have been leveraging AI content. On top of that, I've heard one individual say that some of her clients have been affected by it, but they never really leveraged AI content. So I mean, it's I started an e-com site. I use some AI content, but I only only created 2 posts, so I don't think it'll affect me, but we'll see. Plus, I didn't invest up a ton of time. It wasn't a lot of resources. But interested to see how it goes. I don't know. I mean, it's funny because a lot of folks don't realize that's happening, right? And I think a lot of folks in the younger generations think, oh, well, Google just provides stuff. And yeah, it's true, but there's an entire industry out there that is dedicated to finding out the various nuances of what ranks and how and why, right? And this algorithm update is pretty big. So we'll see. And now I'm on my soapbox, if I'm being honest. From what I've heard is the quality of Google results have really gone down. I never really paid attention to it. And folks are saying it now, I'll take it all kind of like with a grain of salt or at face value. But everyone's kind of saying that they call it the results pages, right? That it's very lower quality compared to where it was a couple of years ago. And what's interesting about this is that I'm really keen on looking at aspects of Google that impact search, not just, it's primarily search, not just like YouTube or like email, because they're all doing, or like all that stuff. Their bread and butter happens to be search. So it's funny because I end up following a lot of folks that follow Googlers, right? Googlers, employees of Google. And over the last couple of months, I have seen more and more Googlers come out saying that there's a lack of of substance in what we do nowadays at Google. There's a lack of leadership. There is a lack of just strategic roadmap. Everything is just, it's unfortunately driven, I feel like, by the bottom dollar. And I'll get to that in a moment. I don't have the resources in front of me, but I'll get to that in a moment. So the current CEO hasn't really driven a lot about, hasn't really gone through kind of, hasn't implemented anything visionary, right? The preceding CEOs, the two founders, Eric something or other, I don't even know their names, but those guys really drove home kind of like what they wanted Google to be. Do no evil or something like that, or something or other. But right now there's just a lack of vision, it seems. Now going back to the money standpoint. Now, a couple of years ago, what ended up happening was, I believe, if I recall correctly, there was a disruption in the organization of Google that splintered off the organic search team and the paid search team. So again, if you're not familiar, there's paid results, all ads, you pay for it to be there. And then there's organic results. You optimize your site and you happen to be there. Now, this disruption in the org was that the organic search channel was to be headed up by an executive that only had paid search experience. Again, I don't have any names. I don't know, but I did read it. It was very intriguing. It was about 3 years ago. And a lot of folks speculated, and I didn't doubt it. So with the paid search team, most of the revenue that Google sees is driven by ad revenue. And if you have an ad executive take over the organic search team, what ends up happening is, or what could have ended up happening is, less priority being honestly given, or less attention being given to the organic search team, or the organic search team being deprioritized, or trying to fold into what's best for paid search. Because again, ads are a huge revenue driver for Google. Now, I'm not saying everything that's happening at Google is a result of that, but I think there is a kind of unfortunately, there's just a lot of a lack of value, in the search results and kind of the leadership. It looks like. So I don't know. I mean, I still have a job, which is great, right? I still have a career. So my thing is probably just to continue to distill and communicate some of the best practices to my clients. Well, that's it. That's all I have. I hate to end it on a sour note. So my promise to y'all is, the next time I chat with y'all, I want to talk about everything everywhere all at once. We'll see. That's my goal, but I'm hoping to get something out to you in a couple of weeks, but we'll check it out. We'll see how it goes. Well, that's it. I hope y'all enjoyed this. I hope we can talk very soon. Take care, everyone.